Hey guys, Shy Got Picks here. Hope everyone's doing well. We're here to be breaking down UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira, and this one's a banger of a card. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick heads up and say sorry, my mic died during part of the recording, so I didn't catch it until it was a little too late. So a few of the fights might have rougher audio quality than the rest. Appreciate you guys bearing with me on this one. It won't happen again. With that being said, this card is stacked. We've got an absolute war of a main event between Topuria versus Oliveira and plenty of matchups that are real fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to. We'll be going over the full card breakdown, best bets, what fights to avoid. Let's get right into it. For the first fight in the card, we got Niko Price facing Jacobe Smith. Price comes into this 35 years old, 6'0", 76-inch reach. Meanwhile, Smith comes into this 29 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. And this is an absolute mismatch from the start. It's absolute obvious. And then the negative 2,000 odds are fucking glaring. It's crazy. Smith is a lot younger. He's a rising prospect. And Price is just not the fighter he used to be, of course. Smith has a lot of power. He can wrestle. And he's a lot more hungry, in my opinion. And Price is just, like I said, he's just way past his prime. When you talk about Price, he used to win fights by being wild and tough. He dragged people into ugly brawls and outlasted them. But that grit is absolutely not the same anymore. And his body's been through a lot as well. Multiple knee surgeries have slowed him down, and his speed and athleticism are mostly gone. Watching him move now is basically very rough. It's like he's stuck in slow motion kind of thing. He still likes a dirty fight, but his chin is taking a lot more damage than it's used to kind of thing. His recent fights show how far he's really fallen. The only wins he's had in the past 5 years were against Cowboy Oliveira and Alex Morono, both of which are definitely past their primes as well. And even then, those fights were close and sloppy. It's that where, if Price is that, if that's where he's at now, he's in deep trouble against someone like Smith. Smith is still figuring things out for sure, especially with his striking. He's mostly throwing heavy hooks and still needs to tighten up a lot of his basics regarding his striking. But at this level, with someone like Price in front of him, it's just really not going to matter against him. Price doesn't really fight smart. He doesn't fight defensively. He walks into the pocket and trades a lot of shots. And Smith hits way too hard for that to be any sort of a good idea. I think one clean punch is really all it's going to take in this one. And the biggest difference is definitely the wrestling. Smith's wrestling has looked amazing in MMA. He chain wrestles together. He does really creative sprawl. His takedowns are really creative. Painful things. He does really painful things when he's on top of his opponents as well. If you remember what Smith did to his opponent's knee on the Dana White Contender Series, that absolutely was not a fluke. And if he does that again against Price, I think Price could really, really get hurt considering his knee problems. And I think Price has never been really good at stopping takedowns. He's not coming off a fight where he also coming off a fight where Themba dominated him on the ground. So I don't think Smith is going to have any issues to take him down there if he really wants to. So it's really hard to find any way to see Price surviving this. I think either Smith knocks him out early with one punch or he just takes him down to the ground and gets some ground and pound. So I think the only way to go with this one is Smith by knockout here. Up next on the card, we got Jhonata Diniz versus Alvin Hines. Diniz comes into this 8-1, 34 years old, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach. Hines comes into this 7-0, 33 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. And I think this one's plain and simple. If Hines doesn't wrestle, he's going to get knocked out. It's the main thing to throw out here and really know. Diniz might not be some world-class MMA striker, absolutely not, but he hits really, 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 really hard and can end a fight really fast. If Hines stands in front of him for too long, he's going to go to sleep, in my opinion. Now, if people have been hyping up Diniz's striking a lot, especially because he fought in Glory, but he's not some super clean, high-level striker. I think he's pretty slow. He gets hit a lot, doesn't move his head. His technique is better than most heavyweights, but it's really nothing special. The thing is, Hines is even worse. He's very basic on the feet. He throws one shot at a time. You can tell when he's about to throw as well. He telegraphs a lot, and he repeats the same move over and over and over and over again. You'll see the setup coming from a mile away. And when he gets into exchanges, he's wide open to get hit. And I think that's going to be a big problem against someone like Jhonata Diniz. What makes this fight more interesting is the wrestling. Diniz has really bad ground skills. It's really awful, to be honest. He's been taken down in almost every fight and doesn't try to get back up. That's a problem. Hines isn't some great wrestler either. He's mostly shoots slow single leg takedowns, but Diniz has shown his struggles even with that, against Tybura, he followed him to the ground and got reversed easily and absolutely never recovered. If Hines comes out early and wrestles hard, this can get absolutely tricky for Diniz because he's fucking terrible on the ground. But Hines also very much has weak cardio, and he's taking this fight on short notice. And if he doesn't get this early takedown, and he can't keep Diniz down, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Diniz is going to land some heavy leg kicks and time his punches well. And once Hines slows down or gets predictable, I think it's lights out. But like I said, the reason why Jhonata Diniz is at the 280 that he's at, it's because he's absolutely awful at the wrestling, and we're going to expect Hines to go in there and try to wrestle this guy. But if he can't get it done, Diniz is going to knock him out. And so at the end of the day, I got to go with Diniz by knockout. Up next on the card, we got Terrance McKinney versus Viacheslav Borshchev. McKinney comes into this 16-7, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Borshchev comes into this 8-5, 33 years old, 5'11" with a 69-inch reach. And when it comes to McKinney, I think his fights are pretty easy to figure out. He's either knocking his opponent out in the first round, or he completely falls apart after the fight goes longer. That's just really how he is. He's super fast, super explosive, but he burns out very quick because of that. If you survive his first round storm, there's a good chance that you can beat him. But the thing is, he usually beats fighters who aren't that good. And when it comes to Slava Borshchev, you know, Slava's he's a great striker. Probably the best one here in terms of skill, but that's basically all he brings when it comes in terms of MMA. His wrestling and grappling are really not good enough for high-level MMA, and his chin has looked shaky lately. Ever since that loss to Sadikov, Slava doesn't fight with the same confidence anymore. He doesn't look like he trusts his chin anymore, and he's not hurting people on the feet like he used to. Now with McKinney isn't really technical at all. He kind of just charges forward and throws wild shots. But that wild style actually works against guys like Slava who can't handle pressure. And McKinney hits really, really hard. He's much faster and more explosive. And I can definitely see him rushing in and catching Slava early in this fight. On the ground, he's not helpless, but he can survive there. But the problem is he doesn't really try to get back up. If McKinney does consider in this fight to take him down, Slava usually just stays there. So even though McKinney doesn't always shoot for takedowns right away, I think he should in this fight. It's the easiest way for him to win. He doesn't even need to go for a submission. He could just get on top and flatten Slava out and throw some punches until the ref stops it. The only real concern is, what happens if McKinney doesn't get the early finish? His cardio is really bad, and mentally, he just kind of checks out after the first round is over. But I don't think it gets that far. I really don't. He's fucking elite in the first round. Slava has too many holes in his game. McKinney is the kind of fighter who takes advantage of that right away. So I'm absolutely taking McKinney to win by knockout. If anything, shout out to McKinney. He liked my post on Instagram. That shit really boosted mine. Makes you want to go forward, with posting more content kind of things, But yeah, shout out to McKinney. I got him by knockout against Borshchev in this one. Up next on the card, we got Vivianne Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. Araujo comes into this 13-6, 38 years old, 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. Tracy Cortez comes into this 31 years old, 11-2, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. I think this fight is a real tough one to call. Araujo and Cortez are pretty similar in how they fight. Both are really strong for their weight class. Both don't throw a lot of punches. And both take a few shots just to land their own. They've also got some decent wrestling. But what makes this matchup tricky is where they're at in their careers. Araujo is definitely skilled. She's got some good Muay Thai. She hits hard. Her ground game is legit. But she's getting older. She's 38 now. And that's a tough age for this type of weight class. For this weight class. She also cuts a lot of weight to make 125. And sometimes that affects her cardio. One fight she looks sharp. And the next fight she fades very fast. When she's at her best, I honestly think she's better than Cortez in most areas. But recently, she hasn't really looked great. I actually thought she lost to Jennifer Maia, even though she got the win. Before that, she was on a 4-fight losing streak. Cortez, on the other hand, is a weird one. She's clearly talented and athletic, but doesn't seem all in with fighting. She's always posting online. She's like more into being an influencer kind of thing. She barely fights. She's fighting once a year. She always dealing with some injuries, health issues. Her last fight was supposed to be against Miranda Maverick, but she pulled out for something serious, according to her coach. On the feet, they both get hit a lot. Cortez is scrappy, but doesn't have a great technique. She's been rocked a few times. Araujo has a big power advantage in the and is a better striker overall, in my opinion. The problem is when she gets hit, she doesn't react well. She's not chinny, but she looks bad in those moments, so to say, and that does sway judges sometimes. But if she moves better and is more comfortable in the striking exchanges, if this turns into a brawl, I think Araujo has the edge. Now, wrestling is where Cortez usually does really well, but I think she looks better there mostly because of the people who she fights. She faced opponents with weak takedown defense and no ground game. Araujo is different. She's hard to take down and can wrestle too. Plus, her jiu-jitsu game is solid. Those sweeps in her sweeps in the last fight were very impressive. Cortez can be taken down. She even got controlled by Namajunas in her last fight, which isn't a great look. If Araujo has a good weight cut and doesn't really gas out, I think she can stop most of Cortez's takedowns and maybe even win some of the grappling exchanges. Overall, it's a close fight in my opinion. Cortez is younger and might throw a bit more, so I get why people are leaning her way. But, with all of her inactivity, her injuries, I don't think she's focused on MMA. I'm not sold on her, so I know that Araujo has her flaws, but if she's in shape and ready, I think she's gonna win a close decision. So for now, I'm leaning Araujo, and the odds are really making me, I gotta have to lean in towards the Araujo side now, for sure, kind of thing. So I'm picking Araujo. Up next on the card, we got Hyder Amil facing Jose Delgado. Hyder Amil comes to this 11-0, 35 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Delgado comes to this 9-1, 27 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. This fight is absolutely wild. I think it's going to be absolutely nuts. It doesn't really make sense for the division, I don't think, in my opinion. But if you look at it in pure violence aspect, it's going to be an absolute war. Amil's been surprising absolutely everybody in the UFC. I keep fading him, and he keeps making me look silly. At the end of the day, his style looks messy, even goofy, but it absolutely works for him. He just charges forward nonstop. He doesn't really care if he's getting punished, taken down, or hurt. He just keeps coming, trying to knock your head off. His gas tank never runs out, and it looks like he doesn't even feel pain sometimes. But Delgado's absolutely no joke either. I think a lot of people are underestimating him. He's a brawler too, big for the division. He hits really hard. He's always down to scrap. He reminds me a bit of Julian Erosa, wild striking, dangerous with the submissions, especially front chokes, but Delgado has better wrestling and a much more stronger chin. Now here's where it gets interesting. Delgado's better when he's pushing forward, but Amil's never taken a step back. So it'll come down to who controls the pace. If Amil walks him down, Delgado might struggle, but if Delgado flips the script, we got a really good fight on our hands, At the same time, Delgado throws heavy shots, elbows, flying knees, really all of it. And while Amil's chins is insane, he hasn't faced many true power punchers. Delgado might be the first guy who can actually really test that. On the ground, it gets tricky. Amil is hard to hold down. He kind of just muscles his way back up, but he's not very technical. Delgado, on the other hand, is a real threat. If he gets on top, he throws brutal elbows and actually hunts for submissions. He won't just lay there. One thing, the cage size, I think that's going to be a big difference here. A bigger cage gives Delgado more space to move and avoid pressure. It might help him set up angles and land some shots, but Amil's going to fight the same way no matter what, full steam ahead. Amil's last win was very solid as well, but I do think, people overrate him a little bit. The guy, was more of a point fighter who plays defense, not someone who wants a war. Delgado wants a war. So I think that's a big difference here. Bottom line, especially if Delgado can mix in the takedowns and keep up the pace, I think he'll make it very uncomfortable for Amil. So I am going against Amil again, but if he surprises me again, then all for him. But I do expect to finish here. I do think Delgado gets this one down and finds a submission. So give me Delgado, maybe round 2 submission. Up next on the card, we got Jack Hermansson facing Gregory Rodrigues. Hermansson comes into this 24-8, 37 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Gregory Rodrigues comes to this 16-6, 33 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. And honestly, I got Rodrigues by knockout in the first round. And listen, I respect Hermansson. He's been a solid name in the middleweight division for a while, but this matchup, I think this one's really, really, really bad for him. When it comes to RoboCop, he's a scary dude. He's not just strong. He knows how to use that power. He walks forward, cuts off the cage, and when he hits you, it hurts, and it hurts a lot. And Jack's more of a technical, stay on the outside type of fighter. He likes to jab, throw leg kicks, and pick you apart. But against someone like RoboCop, I think that's going to be really dangerous. We've seen Jack struggle before with aggressive, heavy-hitting fighters. In the Piper fight, he was having a rough time until Piper got tired and slowed down. Rodrigues might not be perfect, but he's smarter and more technical than Piper. He hits just as hard. If Jack tries to hang back and wait again, I don't think he makes it out the first round, truthfully. And now, at the same time, Rodrigues is coming off a very tough loss. He did get tired, and he got caught late. But even in that fight, I thought he looked pretty good. He was winning the third round before he got hit with that elbow. His cardio definitely isn't perfect either, but in a 3-round fight, he's still very dangerous. So people think that Jack could use his grappling to win, but honestly, I don't really see that. RoboCop has a background in jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and even judo as well. He's hard to take down, and he's very strong in the clinch. Jack's just not the most accurate wrestler at the same time. If those takedowns fail, I think he's going to be in big trouble, and especially if he's staying right in front of Rodrigues. And I think unless Rodrigues comes in scared from his last loss, I don't think he will either, by the way. I just don't see how Jack wins this one. Every shot RoboCop lands is going to matter, and when it comes to Jack, he really doesn't like getting hit. So I think Rodrigues marches him down and lands something big before the first round ends. So give me Rodrigues first round knockout. Up next on the card, we got Payton Talbott versus Felipe Lima. Talbott comes into this 9-1, 26 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Lima is 14-1, 27 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. And I think this one sucks, let's be honest, because someone that we really, this fight really doesn't make sense to me whatsoever, but it is a banger kind of thing. For the division, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand why the UFC wants one of these fighters to lose. I think they would want both of these fighters to continue winning. But this fight is an absolute banger, and this fight is going to be so exciting. It's just really tough to really break it down at the same time, because on one hand, Lima should totally be the favorite, but I keep thinking Talbot might actually have the tools to be able to pull off the upset. This one's a very close fight that makes, I think that's what makes it a perfect matchup, really, when it comes to the stand-up, because if Lima comes out wrestling light like he usually does in the UFC, this could turn into a war on the feet. Payton Talbott is a pressure machine. Dude's literally got, he's averaging 6.75 significant strikes per minute, which is crazy for this division. He's nonstop movement, super dynamic, he's a freakishly athletic fighter, constantly puts his opponents on their heels, and when he gets hit, he's absorbing 3.75 strikes per minute. But he does wear it well. The pressure that he brings breaks guys, sort of thing. He's striking is high level. He's got a real pop, high volume, and knows how to mix it up. This is why I do like him, but at the same time, he forces chaos, and when it comes to Lima, that might be dangerous, and that's why this is going to be a great fight. Defensively, he's really, really good. He's only absorbing 2.3 strikes per minute, and his boxing is clean, but the output is where it gets tricky. He's landing just 3.4 strikes per minute. That's around less than half Talbot's clip, which is scary. He picks his shots well, though, but in the firefight, that lower volume might really cost him. I don't think Lima can match Talbot's pace on the feet if it stays standing on the feet for long stretches of time. Talbot could pile up the volume if this is staying standing on the feet. But when it comes to the wrestling, that's when it gets really interesting, Lima's grappling is flat out nasty. His scrambles are some of the best you'll see in the division. He's constantly flowing, always attacking in transitions, and he's not afraid to chase the back or roll into positions. But the chaos comes with some sketchy moments. He'll go for some risky back takes, and you'll see him get reversed or end up on a bottom after some takedown attempts. But he's absolutely a monster when he's down there. If he gets the position, he can overwhelm guys with pressure and transition. The control time numbers don't always tell a story, but the eye tests say he's dangerous as fuck. When it comes to Talbot, he got mauled by Barcelos, taken down 8 times, controlled over half the fight. But weirdly enough, the fight showed me some things, and it's that his get-ups aren't really that bad. He's insanely athletic. He has some good instincts and can use the raw explosiveness to bail himself out of some bad spots. What kills him is his lack of BJJ fundamentals. He's getting up, but he leaves himself open to be retaken down or mounted. If Lima goes wrestle heavy, I think he can dominate long stretches on the ground. But Talbott's not an easy guy to really just keep down there. And the problem is that we don't really know which way we're gonna get. I expect Lima to go for these takedowns, especially since we got the blueprint from Barcelos. But of course, Talbott is gonna be practicing that. When it comes to fight IQ and momentum, because this might really where the fight really tilts. Lima has looked really sharp and composed through his first 2 UFC bouts. He's 14-1 overall. He's 2-0 in the UFC, and he's just looked locked in. He's strategic, he's patient, and doesn't force bad spots. That's why even when he's not grappling heavy, he's still in control. When it comes to Talbot, it's a different story. He's super talented, but still a work in process. His loss to Barcelos was absolutely a reality check, especially given the odds that he was given. That being said, I love how he's bounced back mentally. He didn't just fold. He's still hungry, of course. He's clearly wanting to evolve, but this is a tough bounce back spot. I don't really know why they gave him Lima. I think Lima is a really, really tough opponent for them to be giving. I don't get this matchmaking whatsoever, really. But this is an absolute banger of a fight. I'm leaning towards Lima by decision. His grappling edge is just really too real for me to just ignore here. If he actually leans into wrestling like he did on the regionals, I think he wins this clean, probably with a couple of dominant rounds of control. That being said, Talbott's absolutely live. He's athletic, and we've seen what he can do. He was a humongous favorite for a reason. But ultimately, my official pick is going to be is Lima by decision. Up next on the card, we got Beneil Dariush versus Jhonata Moicano. Dariush comes to this 36 years old, 22-6, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Moicano comes to this 26-1, 36 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. This fight is a super hard one to call. Dariush and Moicano is one of those matches where both guys are really, really similar. They have the same age, same skill set, and even have the same weaknesses, truthfully, but where they are in their careers, that's really where things start to get a little bit different. When it comes to Dariush, before he fought Oliveira, I would have picked him without even thinking about it, to be honest, but since then, he's been knocked out twice. Once by Oliveira, then by Arman Tsarukyan, but that second one, that one was scary. Arman is even known for his knockouts, but he put Dariush out fast. On top of that, it came out that Beneil had been knocked out and concussed multiple times during training before those fights. That kind of damage adds up, and especially for a guy who's always had a shaking chin. Now, when you compare that to Moicano, he's not perfect either. His chin isn't great. He doesn't have huge power, but he's been active and improving. I actually think his striking is better overall. He's more technical and cleaner in his punches and fights with better control. Dariush is awkward but dangerous when he's aggressive. The big question is, will he still fight that way, or will he become more cautious now after all those knockouts? If Dariush comes in aggressive like he's used to, I think he could give Moicano some real big problems. Moicano doesn't hit super hard. His chin is weak too, but if Dariush is hesitant and plays it safe, Moicano can pick him apart with jabs and leg kicks. Grappling is tricky. Both guys are great on the ground. Moicano has some solid jiu-jitsu, but Dariush is probably the better wrestler and tougher to take down. Still, I think most of his fight will be on the feet. Usually when two good grapplers face off, it turns into a striking matchup. When you look at the striking matchup, Dariush lands 3.78 strikes per minute, while Moicano's landing 4.36. But at the same time, Dariush is only absorbing 2.65 compared to 3.55. So, the accuracy is basically the same, but the defensive accuracy is slightly better on the Dariush side. And of course, like I mentioned, the grappling is probably going to be neutralized given the fact that both are really good grapplers. So this one's really, really a tough one. Moicano started up at a negative 160. Now I believe there are even coin flips. Even Dariush is pushing more towards a favorite now. So if this is a pure stand-up fight, it's going to be close and maybe even an ugly one. I actually think Dariush might be the better overall fighter, but I just can't trust the guy in his chin right now. And after all those lockouts and that long break. So I got Moicano by decision, but I'm not the most confident in this fight. Up next on the card, we got Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van, and this one hurts me to watch. This is another one that I don't want to watch because these two are probably one of my favorite fighters, a pair of one of my favorite fighters. So I'm really upset seeing this one. But Brandon Royval comes into this 17-7, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. Joshua Van comes into this 14-2, 23 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. And when you think about it, this fight is a lot better than the original matchup. I do think that Kyle probably would have done probably would have worked Royval, to be honest, now that I think about it. But now that Van stepped in, the matchup feels a lot more interesting and a lot more competitive. This is a massive step up for Van. He got knocked out just 11 months ago, and now he's basically fighting the number one contender. So it's basically a number one contender fight if you really think about it, and that's pretty crazy. But that's the kind of opportunity you get when you are still super active. And I'll admit, I wasn't really sold on Van after some early fights. I liked him, especially after that Chiras fight. You know, I liked him a lot. He's an entertaining fighter, but he kept on having his head up in the air kind of thing. But I got to give him what the credit's due. You know, in those last 3 performances that he's had, he's been clean, he's been technical, and he's barely take absolutely any damage. His boxing is no joke. He throws a ton. He works to the body, he works to the head, and he has cardio for absolute days. And he does get a bit. But he does get a hit a bit too much, but stays sharp under pressure and doesn't seem to slow down. Stylistically, you can see why people are picking him here. But here's the thing: Royval is just a different kind of fighter. He's wild. He's extremely unpredictable, and his pace is absolutely insane. If we're gonna compliment Van's cardio, Royval's cardio is absolutely insane. This guy's, he's training out of Colorado, which is the highest altitude all the time. So this guy's cardio is absolutely insane. And Van could probably match that pace, don't get me wrong, but Royval thrives in that chaos. He doesn't need to be the cleanest striker. He just overwhelms guys and forces them into mistakes. That's something we haven't really seen Van deal with at this level. People underrate Royval striking a bit. He's awkward and absolutely unorthodox, but he knows how to make things ugly. Land shot, and land shots that matter. He's not the most powerful, but he doesn't need to be. He breaks guys with pace and pressure. If Van gets too confident standing in there, Royval can mix things up. His wrestling isn't elite, but he's shown that he's willing to shoot more often and lately. Even a few scrambles or control moments can steal rounds in close fights. And if you talk about the chin, Royval got dropped in sparring and had a rough recovery, but that doesn't mean he's cooked. He's been in there with way tougher, way more experienced guys than Van. He's been hurt before and comes back to win. That experience matters. It shows up when the fight gets messy. Van is extremely good, like really, really good. But I think it's going to be the type of test when Royval's grit and his pressure and more importantly his experience make the difference. It's going to be a high-paced fight, crazy fight. But I do see Royval doing just enough, mixing in some wild exchanges, maybe a takedown or two, and making this a really close fight into a fight where it leans towards Royval. Like I said, I hate that I got to pick one or the other. I just think this is a massive step up in competition. And given the fact that Van literally just got knocked out by Charles Johnson 11 months ago, you can't just dismiss that. But he is 23 years old, so we're not going to make it seem like he's 38, but at the end of the day, this fight is going to be absolutely a banger. I'm glad that they moved it up. Having Royval in the prelims prior to this fight was absolutely disrespectful, but this fight is going to be a banger. I'm so excited for this one, but I do got Royval. Wouldn't be shocked if Van wins it, though. I do got to go on by decision. Up next on the card, we got Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France for one of the 2 championship fights of the night. For one of the 2 championship fights of the night, of course. This is the co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja comes to this 29-5, 35 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. Kai Kara-France comes to this 14-2, 32 years old, 5'5" with a 69-inch reach. Now, when talking about this rematch between these two, Pantoja is a wild fighter. He pushes forward nonstop, throws heavy shots, and doesn't mind taking punches just to land his own. On paper, his style looks kind of sloppy, but it works because he's just better than most of the guys in this division. Still, he's definitely getting older, and fighting like this takes a lot. It takes a huge toll on your body, and you can't go to war every fight forever. When it comes to Kai Kara-France, he's absolutely super underrated. He's got some excellent takedown defense, clean striking, and absolute real knockout power. And honestly, I thought he beat Albazi. He's pulled off a few upsets before, and he's not someone you can count out. But here's the problem. Kai likes technical controlled fights. He's at his best when things are clean, when he can pick his shots and control the pace. That's the opposite when it comes to Pantoja and what he brings. Pantoja drags you into chaos. He makes things extremely messy, wild, and it's absolutely exhausting. And Kai has struggled in those type of fights before. Just look at his fight with Brandon Royval. Kai was the better striker, but once it turned into a brawl, he got hit a lot more and started to fall behind. And let's not forget, Pantoja can take a punch. He's got a crazy chin, and even when he's gotten hit, he keeps moving forward. He throws big shots of his own, and he just doesn't stop. Now, the grappling is where things can get really dangerous for Kai. Sure, he's hard to take down, but every time he's faced a strong grappler, he's been taken down at least once, and once it hits the ground, he's usually in big trouble. Another flashback to the Royval fight. Pantoja just doesn't need a perfect takedown. He can just take your back in a scramble or pull off something wild like a jumping guillotine. And while he gets you down, and when he gets you down, he's not looking to just hold you. He's looking for a finish. Kai's been in bad positions before against worse grapplers. And if Pantoja gets on top or takes his back, I really don't see Kai escaping here. Even though he's improved, I doubt it's enough to deal with someone as dangerous as Pantoja, because Pantoja really is the real fucking deal. This guy is nasty, and he's going to be the top of the division until he retires, I believe. Kai can definitely land some big shots early. He might even hurt Pantoja, but unless Pantoja's age suddenly shows, I think he walks through the storm, keeps pushing forward, and eventually drags Kai into some really deep, deep waters. I got him winning by decision. I got him winning by submission, and I think it gets done before the championship rounds, so I believe it gets done around round 3. So give me Pantoja, submission, round 3. Up next on the card, we got the main event of the night, the last of the 2 championship fights. Ilia Topuria facing Charlie Oliveira. Topuria comes to this undefeated 16-0, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. Oliveira comes to this 35-10, 35 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. And I think this fight is going to absolutely show as to why Topuria is one of the scariest fighters in the UFC right now. And honestly, I think Charlie Olives is in big, big, big trouble. I know the betting odds might look crazy, but when you really look at this matchup, it makes absolute total sense. And I think a lot of people are telling me that is Oliveira being is he being underrated? Is he being underestimated? Like, why are the odds like we're getting plus 3.5 to 1? Like, bro, I'm telling you, it is not. Topuria is the real fucking deal. Now let's start with Charles. Yes, he beat Michael Chandler, but if you really look at it, let's be real, Chandler is way past his prime. Even though Charles won, clearly he didn't look great. His striking felt slow. It looked stiff, and at any time that the fight stayed standing, he got touched up pretty badly. He got even rocked late in that fight. That's not a good sign, especially when you're going up against someone like Ilia. In his fight against Arman Tsarukyan, he had a few moments with submission attempts, but outside of that, he got clearly outworked. That split decision was generous. Charles has been in a lot of wars. He's taken damage. He's older now and just doesn't look as sharp as he used to. Now, when you talk about Ilia, this guy has absolute serious power. His boxing is clean. It's fast as fuck. And when he lands, he's putting people out cold. He doesn't wait around either. He's pressuring you right away. If Charles can't handle that, he's going to be forced to trade shots up close, and that's a bad spot for him. Sure, Charlie Oliveira is longer and always dangerous with submissions, but every fight starts in the feet, and he's going to get rocked way too often, in my opinion, and people forget that Ilia can grapple too. He's got a strong wrestling game, and even if the fight goes to the ground, I think he'll be just fine. He might even catch Charles with a choke of his own after a knockdown, which I actually think he might. But let's be honest, it's way more than likely that he just knocks him out clean. This just feels like the wrong fight at the wrong time for Charles. He's a legend, absolutely. But the way he takes damage and how Ilia hits, I think this is an absolute bad combo. I think Ilia clips him early and finishes him early with something nasty in the first round. This is a highlight reel knockout written all over it, in my opinion. I keep telling you, everybody, people are telling me, don't you think this is a little bit disrespectful? I think it's disrespectful that Ilia Topuria is not negative 600, if I'm being honest with you. All right, let's be honest. It's not disrespectful, but the fact is that Charles Oliveira is going to bring in his own bettors no matter what. People are always going to be rooting for this guy, and therefore they're going to put money on that side. So I think that's why Topuria is still only a negative 425. I truly, truly believe he should be at negative 600. And I completely understand that he's going up a weight class class, and that's going to be a big difference here. And that Oliveira is a lot bigger, a lot longer, but when you really look at these things, Topuria hits like a truck. This guy has knocked out everybody that we wished he didn't knock out, and it made it look easy. When it came to Volkanovski, he knocked him out easy. When it came to Holloway, he knocked him out easily. Holloway's never been knocked out. And now he's fighting somebody who's 35 years old. Now he's the same weight class as him. So I'm taking the younger, extremely dangerous fighter in Ilia Topuria, and I think he knocks him out in round 1. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up my breakdown for UFC 317 Topuria versus Oliveira. Appreciate you guys sticking through the video, especially with the mic issue on the few fights. Won't let that happen again. If you found the breakdown helpful, make sure to drop a like, hit subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know who you're backing this weekend. Always love hearing your takes. Good luck on your bets. Enjoy the fights, and I'll see you in the next one.